Hello everyone, I welcome you all to the online classes of Girls High School and College. Today we are going to study rocks and rock cycle. As you have learned earlier that our earth consists of three states of matter. The very first one, as you can see, is atmosphere, hydrosphere and lithosphere. Our atmosphere is there in gaseous state. Hydrosphere is in liquid state and lithosphere is in solid state. The word lithosphere is derived from the Latin word lithos, which means rocks or stone. Thus, it is also called rock sphere. It describes both the type of land masses that are found on the earth, the one on the crust and the other one on the ocean floor. Now we are going to learn about the difference between rocks and minerals. Now rocks are not made up of any one single element, but it is a mixture of different type of elements that are found on the earth's surface. The different type of minerals that are there in the earth's surface. The definition defines rock as an aggregate of different type of minerals that forms more or less definite unit of the earth's crust. Whereas minerals, if you see rocks, they are aggregates of different minerals where different minerals are formed together. But on the other hand, minerals, they are formed of only a single element. And that's why it is defined as a mineral has a definite chemical composition with its own chemical and physical properties. For example, silicates and quartz.
The outer crust of the earth where all the continents and ocean basins rest is called lithosphere. The continental part of the earth's crust are composed of
There are three types of rocks: igneous, sedimentary and metamorphic rocks. We are going to discuss each one of them in detail. Right now I am giving you the introduction of all the three types of rocks. The first one is igneous rocks. Igneous rocks are also called primary rocks, as they are the rocks, the first formed rocks from the cooling and solidification of molten magma. The second type of rock is sedimentary rock. It is also called secondary rock, and the name sedimentary derives, as the name suggests, from the word sediments, which means deposition. These rocks, they occur in layers or stratas, and thus they are also called stratified rocks. The third rock is metamorphic rock. Metamorphic rock is formed by the process of metamorphism. The process means change of form. When the different type of rocks, whether it is igneous rock, whether it is sedimentary rock or metamorphic rock, undergoes heat and pressure, the features of the rocks undergo a change and they become harder, denser and darker by the process of heat and pressure.
igneous rocks. Formation. Igneous rocks are also known as primary rocks, solidified from rocks in a hot molten state known as magma. Magma is molten rock material consisting of liquid, gas and crystals. The two types of magma are basalt magma, which is very hot and highly fluid, silicate magma with a temperature of about 850 degrees Celsius and highly viscous. Types of igneous rocks. Igneous rocks can be classified on the basis of texture of grains, chemical composition and mode of origin. On the basis of silica present in igneous rocks are classified as acid igneous rocks. Acid igneous rocks have more silica, example granite. Secondly is basic igneous rocks. Basic igneous rocks have lower quantities of silica, example gabbro. On the basis of occurrence, igneous rocks are divided into two: intrusive igneous rocks and extrusive igneous rocks. Intrusive igneous rocks, magma that solidifies below the Earth's surface and remains surrounded by pre-existing rocks, is called intrusive igneous rocks. On the basis of depth and place of cooling, the intrusive igneous rocks are divided into plutonic. In general, igneous rocks of deep-seated origin are known as plutonic rocks. These rocks have been coarse-grained size, which result from their having been formed at depth where cooling and crystallizations have occurred very slowly. For example, gabbro-granite and batholith. Hyperbasal rocks. These are small-scale igneous intrusions such as sill or dike. These are formed due to cooling and solidification of rising magma during volcanic activity in the cracks porcelain beneath the Earth's surface. Apart from the above intrusive igneous rocks, other intrusive rocks are batholith. It is a large mass of igneous rocks, almost always granite, covering about 100 square kilometer area. Its floor is not visible. Laccolith is a dome-like mass of igneous rocks which arches the overlying sediment and has more or less flat floor. Sill is a sheet-like body of igneous rock. It is formed when magma forces its way between two layers of sedimentary rocks and cools and solidifies there. Rocks are composed of granite rocks. Dike is a sheet-like body of intrusive igneous rocks. Extrusive igneous rocks. Rocks formed by solidification of magma above the Earth's surface are called extrusive igneous rock. The rock include lava flow and volcanic ash. These rocks are fine-grained where basalt, gabbro, and obsidian are typical example of igneous rocks. On the basis of nature of lava, extrusive igneous rocks have been divided into two types, explosive and quiet. The explosive type of extrusive igneous rocks are the result of volcanic materials in which dust, ash, etc. are deposited. In the quiet type, lava comes out quietly through minor cracks and fissures.
Now we are going to study the characteristics of igneous rocks. The very first characteristic tells that these rocks are formed from the solidification of molten magma. As we know, they are also known as primary rocks, and when they appear, they are the first formed rocks that are forming on the Earth's surface. And when this magma, this lava that appears on the Earth's surface, it cools down, these rocks are formed. The second point says that these igneous rocks, they do not appear in distinct layers or strata like the sedimentary rocks. As you know that they are the first rocks to be formed after the solidification of molten magma. So there are no layers that are supposed to be formed. The third point says that they are not fossiliferous. Why? Because in sedimentary rocks you can find the mark of fossils that die, and they are there, imprint on the rocks that tells the age of the rock. But in igneous rocks nothing happens, because as soon as these rocks are appearing on the Earth's surface, they are in molten shape, and that's why these fossils are not present in these rocks. They are granular and crystalline also.
Sedimentary rocks. Rocks formed from material derived from the pre-existing rocks, that is parent rocks, and from organic sources by the process of denudation are known as sedimentary rocks. Denudation refers to disintegration and decomposition of rocks as well as wearing away of the land's surface. The processes of weathering and erosion provide the raw material needed to form sedimentary rocks. They are deposited in layers. Sedimentary rocks were laid down principally by sea, but also lakes or streams or glaciers, or even by wind. They are therefore often known as stratified rocks, and layers are called strata. Types of sedimentary rocks. Sedimentary rocks may be divided into a number of types according to their source, nature of sediments, their origin, composition, and mode of formation. Mechanically formed. Mechanical rocks are subdivided according to the grain size of their component material. Example of mechanical rock are conglomerate, sandstones, siltstone, and shale. Organically formed rocks. These organic rocks consist of the remains or the forms of the sea plants and animals which have been buried and preserved in these rocks for a long time. This type of rocks are called fossils. These are called calcareous rocks. Typical example of this kind of rock are limestone and chalk. Various kinds of decayed vegetation matter consisting of plants, twigs, etc. are buried in swamps, accumulated in great thickness. In the course of time, because of pressure and heat, they lose most of their elements except carbon, which in stages become peat, lignite, or coal. These are found on the site of swamps, forests, and are called carbonaceous rocks. Chemically formed rocks. These rocks are formed by direct inorganic mineral compound precipitated from a salt water solution or as hard parts of organisms. Sediment deposited after transport by winds are called alien deposits. Lewis's is the most important alien deposit. Glacial sedimentary rocks. The sediments deposited by glacier are called glacial sedimentary rocks. Petroleum is a product of decayed vegetation and plant remains. Most of the petroleum of the world oceans is from sedimentary rock. Rock salt is formed by evaporation in saline lakes. Coal. Coal really a biochemical rock, very rich in carbon.
Now we are going to study about the characteristics of sedimentary rocks. The very first point tells that these sedimentary rocks, they are formed from the sediment deposit of the pre-existing rocks. Now the pre-existing rocks can either be igneous rocks, it can be sedimentary rocks, it can be metamorphic rocks. The second point says that these rocks, they appear in strata, layer upon layer, and thus they are also known as stratified rocks. Third point says that when these rocks are deposited in the river bodies, they are deposited in a sequential order, like the bigger stone, the boulders, the cobbles, the pebbles, and then the clay and silt that are being deposited. So they are being deposited in a sequential order of the sediments, as you can see in the picture. The next point says that most of the sedimentary rocks are permeable and porous. That means water can percolate in them very easily. And the last important point says that these rocks contain fossils, and fossils are the remains of the dead plants and animals, and when they die they leave a mark on the rock, and that mark helps us to know the age of the rock.
Metamorphic rock. Metamorphic rocks are those rocks that have crystallized in a solid state as a result of change in temperature, pressure, or the composition of pore fluids, to such an extent that the diagnostic features of the original rock are modified under the impact of heat and pressure. The metamorphic rocks generally become harder, denser, and darker.
Now we are going to study about the characteristics of the metamorphic rock. So the very first point says that metamorphic rocks are formed because of the change in the texture and the composition of the rock. Now this rock either can be metamorphic rock, it can be sedimentary rock, it can be igneous rocks. Now the second point says that due to metamorphism, some of the rock's texture changes, that they become harder. For example, limestone, when it undergoes heat and pressure, it turns out to be marble. And diamonds are formed when when carbon undergoes heat and pressure. The next point, it says that the fossils that are present in the sedimentary rocks, they do not appear in the newly formed metamorphic rock because they undergo heat and pressure, and that destroys the presence of fossils that are there in the rocks. So here we are ending the lesson.